if I told you there was a quasi-sequel to Night of the Living Dead that's not Dawn of the Dead, that's not Day of the Dead, that's not Survival of the Dead, that's not Land of the Dead, that's not Diary of the Dead, that you never saw, that stars this zombie, and not only stars him, but was written and directed by him too. I'm Adam Caesar, I write books and I talk about horror movies on the internet. Give me a follow if you want to see more like this. This is Flesh Eater, the slipcover's not okay to show on the internet. This is Flesh Eater, a Bill Hinzman film, starring Bill Hinzman and a number of people from the Pittsburgh area, the PA area, who also worked with George Romero on the regular. You will recognize their faces and you will recognize their names if you choose to enjoy this film. That was kind of a little bit of clickbait. This isn't a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but it is Bill Hinzman basically playing his ghoul, his graveyard ghoul character, with a little bit of a different origin story to do a very different kind of zombie movie. This is subtitled Revenge of the Living Dead, and it is just a wild movie. I first saw this movie at the first Exhumed Films Horrorthon that I'd ever attended. It was over 10 years ago now, and Exhumed Films does this thing where you buy a ticket to see 24 hours of horror movies. You know, it's like 11 or 12 or 13 movies, and they play them. There's no real breaks, and it goes around the clock, and you just got to stay up and try to watch as many horror movies as you can. And around the middle of the first one I attended, they played Flesh Eater, and I kind of remember it clearing out the audience a little bit. I kind of remember that it was the movie where people were deciding to like take naps and stuff like that, or either they'd already seen it or they just didn't like it. That was my recollection of this screening, but I remember sitting there and just, maybe it was the fact that it was my first horrorthon, and maybe it was just like the atmosphere of it, but I just remember loving this movie when I first saw it projected on film. Flash forward to 10 years later, Vinegar Syndrome did a 4K UHD. This movie is not exactly 4K UHD material, but boy do we love Vinegar Syndrome for doing that. And I was like, I'm kind of excited to revisit that movie, but I'm also a little trepidatious because I don't know that I'll be able to enjoy it like I did that first time in that atmosphere where I was just like buzzing and after watching so many horror movies and so happy. Maybe it doesn't hold up. But I think it does. I think it really holds up. One of the great things about Flesh Eater is not only are there just an insane amount of gore effects, it's almost episodic, this movie, where we introduce a group of characters in the very beginning. They're going on a camping trip, and you kind of assume, because the way horror movies are typically made, you kind of assume you're going to be following these characters the whole time. But the first half hour of the movie is just that group of teens getting completely demolished by Hinzman's zombie, and then we basically move on to the next group of people and keep going, all on Halloween night. And into the next day after Halloween. And it's just got a ton of local PA, Pittsburgh suburb area, like regional appeal to it. It was shot in 86 or 87, came out in 88, and it has just a ton of great like vintage Halloween decorations. It's got a great vintage Halloween feel to it, and the gore is like wild. There's just so many kills. They're so strange. It's never an out and out comedy. It's not Return to the Living Dead. It's not, the Evil Dead sequels. It really is its own thing with its own kind of unique tone to it, and it's just got a great let's put on a show feel to it, regional zombie movie feel to it. And there were so many zombie movies made, before or after this, around that time in the 80s, and so many kind of shoestring zombie movies made, but this one really, really stands above them. It's a lot of fun. It's really wacky. It's really mean-spirited. Like some of the final survivors, the way they get it echoes Night of the Living Dead, but kind of stripping off all the like social consciousness that and kind of groundbreaking stuff that Night of the Living Dead was doing, and just brings it a little bit more towards mean-spirited nihilism. But I really, really like this movie, so kudos to Bill Hinzman for making it, and there's just a ton of special features on here for Vinegar Syndrome's 4K, and it looks beautiful. It just feels like going on a Halloween hayride in the late 1980s. I really, really, really recommend it. I think it's streaming places too. I think it might even be on Tubi or something like that. So go check it out, Flesh Eater.